Okay, I'll just show you quick examples on how we can query the data to retrieve it. So I just created this function called read users, and I will call it after the create posts loop. It's an async function, so I'll wait that. So first thing, I can use the manager to select the data, but there is something that I wanted to show you called the repositories. So each entity have a repository, which is basically a manager for only that repository. Sorry, for only that entity. So basically in TypeORM you have entities, which is the models. You have the manager, which is the connection that manages everything. You can query the database with all the operation using that manager. And you have the repositories. Repository is basically a mini manager. This is just me explaining things, okay? So repository is just like a mini manager for a single entity. It has the same functions as the manager, but only for a single entity. So you don't need to define what entity you are working on. And you can save, create, update, delete using that repository. So in this function, this is how I got the repository for the users. So it's of type repository that accepts a generic type. This is the class I defined. And from the connection, there's a function called getRepository and passed with the class that represents the table we have, the entity. Okay, so I will just start the examples. So first one is find. This will find everything without pagination, without anything, without filtering, without ordering. And basically I won't log things. I will just write a file called data.json and I will stringify the data. And this is I don't care about this, the single argument. This is the separator, I believe, the bracer, sorry. And this is to format things, so I'll add a space of 2. And basically this is from the FS module. This is built-in function, this built-in module in Node.js. So let me run it. So this should give us a file inside the CRUD folder, which is called data.json, like this. So now it has all the, it has all the values, all the users. So this is, I don't think you will usually do this, but this is how you get all the users. This is something more realistic when you order the users and select a couple of columns. So I'm ordering by the birth date, ascending order, and I'm selecting only these columns without this, sorry. So only the ID, email, birth date, first name, and ordering that by the birth date in ascending order. That should be fine as well. So as you can see, this is the youngest user we have, and they will start getting older as we scroll down. Younger, sorry. They will start getting younger as we scroll down, and this is the older one, the oldest one. You can also pass a where, like this, and this will be just and. So where first name equals something, last name equal something, stuff like this. I will come to this, but this is how you do pagination. So skip 6 rows and take 1 after that. And if you think about it, we will skip the first 6 users, and the user we will take is the user with the ID of 7. So let's go to data.json, as you can see, and this is an array. So find will always return an array, and now find one will return an object. It will return 1 by the ID, and if you are using Mongoose, this could be a string or the object ID object. So we have an object now with this ID. These are just basic examples. I will show you in the docs where they have some complex ones you can read about. So this using the where statement, the where clause. This one you might find interesting is the relation. So you put the relations for this repository, for this entity, and this string represents this name. So we have posts relation, right? So we just put this here as a string. And this will return all the posts for each user, which I don't think this is a good idea. So yeah, as you can see, each user has now an array of posts. Imagine that specific users have like thousands of posts. Imagine these are tweets, for example. Some users have 10,000 tweets. So it's not a good idea to return this. But I think it's a good idea to return it in the opposite direction. So if you are getting the posts, for each post, just return the user with it. It's just a single object inside each post. So in the opposite way, this will be a good idea. But I don't think in this way it's that good, but this is how you do it. So this is basically the basic stuff. But here there is a readme with the find options. I will put a link to this in the description. But basically there's a lot of good options here. I highly recommend that you read these. I just went through them very fast. And one of the interesting stuff is the advanced options. So if you think about it, when you pass the where condition, you don't have much control about it. You don't know the operator. Is it and or? What about, let's say for example, age. Imagine we have the age column. And what if I want an age bigger than 10? You can't write it like this. It will fail. So this is where the advanced options comes. So from the TypeORM module, you have some operators, for example, not. So here we are finding all the posts where the title not equal to about #1. So this is the query, right? Not equal. Less than, this is the query, this is how you use it. Less than or equal. So there's a lot of options. Some of them are really cool, like this one is actually very important, the like. This is how you use it, you will use it. Between, very important one, in and any, these are very important as well. Very, very important, in my opinion. I usually use them. So it's a good idea to know, or at least it's a good thing to know they exist in TypeORM. And it's really easy to do them, right? Some ORMs requires you to do some raw options, and you need concat, and you will keep just adding string, concatenating them. It's really annoying. Here it's simple. And when you need some things that you didn't find in these options, these functions, there is this raw option, which I find really cool. So here they are selecting the posts where the likes equal the dislikes -4. So this is cool. As you can see, the raw option is really cool. Yeah, and you can chain them, as you can see. So yeah, I will put the link for this in the description. You should read it if you are building things with TypeORM. And yeah.